Hello adventurers. We have another horror story today. In today's tale we have a Pathfinder game in which a player is caught cheating whilst using the blink spell, and as a disciplinary measure the cheating player finds his character having a rather unfortunate run-in with some spiders. Today's tale is called Cheating Player Gets Justifiably Devoured by Spiders. This one is kind of old, but one of my favourite moments as a DM, because it is eye-rolling, hilarious, and I feel demonstrates my skill as a game master. We were playing Pathfinder, rebooting a previous game with some new PCs at about level 6. We have a fire wizard, a rogue, a two-hand fighter, a life cleric, and a gunslinger. The gunslinger ended up being the big problem. He started the game with a created magic item that let him use the blink spell 3 times a day. In Pathfinder, blink makes you flicker back and forth between the material and ethereal plane for the duration. This, understandably, does a bunch of stuff. It makes all physical attacks have a flat 50% chance to miss, makes all of your attacks have a 20% chance to miss. It lets you move through solid objects that are less than 5 feet thick. Reduces damage you take from area of effect damage. It's a very strong spell. This immediately starts causing problems. The first fight is against a marauding pack of gnolls on their way to the real objective. From the get-go, he's running into the middle of combat, blasting both pistols, heedless of danger due to his blink item. The way he checks for it, he rolls a d10, saying nothing, looks at it, then informs me whether it missed because of the blink. And wouldn't you know it, almost every single attack against him is consumed by the blink spell, but not a single one of his is. Imagine that. I ask him what the system he's using is, whether it's highs or lows, odds or evens, what numbers he's using for his own attacks. He says, highs I missed, lows I miss. I tell him that's a little confusing, and ask to see his next roll. He rolls his eyes but agrees. Next attack against him hits. He rolls immediately, picks it up before I can see and tells me it's a miss. I remind him that I said to let me see his roll, and he informs me, you need to be quicker, just get the next one. Now, I'm a pretty permissive DM, but when stuff like that happens, the gloves come off. I told him to re-roll it, and from now on, any concealment, displacement, or mischance rolls that I don't see, don't count. I informed the rest of the party about this. They agreed, all except for the gunslinger. He argues that combat already takes long enough, and that he feels targeted, blah blah blah. I told him that the only other option is I roll everyone's mischance myself, and he shuts up immediately. I have him re-roll the blink chance. It comes up a 2, and he says, see? The thing missed me. I look at him, almost glaring. Dude, what did you say to me before? About how your system works? He rolls his eyes again and says, highs I miss, lows I missed. I inform him that that is wrong. I confer with the other players who confirm what they heard, that he literally just said the opposite a few seconds ago. He immediately goes on the offensive. You're all getting up on me. This isn't fair. I told him that from now on, any attack on him that scores low misses. Any attack he makes that checks low also misses. That we're going to be consistent and easy. No more of this shifting goalposts. He argues for a second, but I move on. Sometimes as a GM, you just have to put your foot down and move on. Right near the end of the fight, someone shoots an arrow at him and he throws his d10. It comes up a 0 and he says, missed, nice try. I say to him, dude, that hits. What the hell is wrong with you? He looks at me with this kind of tired anger. You said lows miss. That's a 0. That's low, you idiot. No, that's a d10. 0 on a d10 is a 10. As in more than 9, as in high. Are you messing with me right now? He tries to appeal to the rest of the group to back him up, but that just does not happen, although he is able to waste 10 minutes of my life arguing that 10 is less than 5. So that's the thing. So at this point I'm super done with this. We just started and already I have cheating, players challenging my calls, a dumbass attempt at gaslighting, and we're maybe 2 hours in. I don't want to ban him for various out of game reasons, but I need to do something about this. So I decided to alter the adventure to make things a bit more interesting. Their adventure was to go and look into a village that had been abandoned due to what they were told were a bunch of ghosts. They talked to a few escaped villagers who spoke of monsters appearing out of thin air and attacking them. They got a few pairs of goggles that would let them see immaterial things from a local witch. Then they set off to look into it. They get into town and start poking around. They make some perception and other checks to look around. They find some odd husks. One of them finds a locked bathroom with a dead guy in it, and no window that someone could have attacked from. They look around with the goggles, but see no ghosts, and assume the spirits must come out at night. They rest until nightfall and follow after some movement they see in the square. As they approach, something monstrous attacks the fire wizard. They all roll initiative. Gunslinger pops his item, and then it all comes together. Originally, I was planning on playing the adventure straight, just having a bunch of ghosts infesting a village that the PCs had to clear out. I replaced those ghosts with spiders, specifically a mating pair of phase spiders, an ambush predator that weaves the smoky stuff of the ethereal plane into tangled nests and jaunt through the plains to attack their prey. Sort of like a trapdoor spider, except instead of springing out of an obscured hole in the ground, they pop out of thin air and are the size of a horse. So the party's getting attacked by a couple of these things shifting in and out of the ethereal plane. The fire wizard is hitting them with magic missile. The two-handed fighter and rogue are holding actions and landing strong attacks on the things when they shift back into attack. And the life cleric is healing up anyone who gets ambushed. As for the gunslinger, well, the gunslinger is dying. Remember how Blink works? It causes a target to bounce back and forth between the material and ethereal plane. The ethereal plane is where these things live, and that's where their young are. The baby spiders are smaller, but still the size of a large dog. Since he's the only one in the ethereal plane, he's the only one they can attack. By round 2, the gunslinger is being mobbed by a horde of ravenous spiderlings, and nobody can help him. He rips off the item that lets him blink, but I tell him the item lets him cast the spell, not that the item is the source of the ongoing effect. He starts demanding that the fire wizard or life cleric cast dispel magic on him, but they're too busy fighting the mature spiders. They keep attacking him for the whole fight, 8 of these things constantly surrounding him, around 4 hitting every round on account of the blink spell still halting 50% of their attack. I have a wonderful opportunity to describe the gunslinger popping around the battlefield, gradually growing more and more haggard as the tiny spiders are ripping him to pieces. One time a critical making one of them hang off of his face when he shifts back into the material plane. After a few rounds he dies, and I have great fun describing his flickering body gradually losing mass as the baby spiders start eating him, and I actually get compliments on how evocative I managed to make it. Gunslinger's player is pissed, and he sits there fuming with rage for a good portion of the fight, until he rather abruptly grabs his stuff and leaves, taking Life Cleric with him because they rode together. I ask the Life Cleric's player if I can control his character for the rest of the fight, and the Gunslinger's player answers no. I get a text about 10 minutes after they leave from the Life Cleric's player, telling me that I can control them, and the fight finishes out with victorious players. We finish out the session, and the remaining players actually using Gunslinger's magic item on the entire party over a few rounds, so that they can clear out the baby spiders and burn their nest. Everyone says it was a fun adventure, and we go home. Later that week I get a call from Gunslinger's player, and he demands that I retcon his death because he feels he was targeted unfairly. This is absolutely true, of course, but I tell him that I will do no such thing. He quits, and the game is better for it. My favourite part about this story is that the spiders hitting the village ended up being an interesting twist that I managed to foreshadow effectively, despite pulling it out of my arse literally minutes before they encountered it. This still gets talked about sometimes, and it was conceived entirely out of punitive bitterness. And there we have it. Whilst I can never condone cheating, and I feel that the DM absolutely had a right to punish this problem player, I do wonder if it was necessary to resort to punishing them in-game in such a way, rather than talking it out. Although our writer does say previously at some point they didn't wish to just kick them out for some out-of-game reasons. That being said, if someone is caught cheating in Dungeons & Dragons, they do need some form of repercussion. And well, I guess if today's protagonists just kicked them from the game, then there wouldn't be a story to tell. And I really do have to praise the writer on their creativity with the phase spiderlings. I also highly suspect there is a decent level of schadenfreude being felt in this story from anyone who has had a cheater exposed in their games. I suppose my final thoughts on this are quite simple. Don't cheat. What's the point? Have you ever played in a game with a cheating player that was exposed? What was the fallout? And how long did they get away with it for? Anyway, that's all from me for tonight. But remember, the tavern is always open. Good night.